Welcome, everyone. Hello. Welcome to SSUC's live stream for August 23rd, 2020. And welcome. It's a beautiful morning here in Edmonton. And regardless of where you are or what the sky is telling you, I hope that it is a beautiful morning for you as well. We offer gratitude for the time that we have together and for the space that we all dwell, for the place that we find ourselves, whether close to Edmonton or far away, whether you are at home or finding a little time to get away, whether you are on Treaty 6 land like we are, or you are on some other place where you can give gratitude for the First Nations of your land and the history and the tradition, the language and the culture that teach us so much. We give gratitude this morning. I invite you into our time together, along with Katie on the piano and Pam on vocals and Janice on vocals and clarinet this morning. So grateful for the live music that we can have here in this room and send to you. It's such a gift to our hearts and our spirits. So thanks to them. And we also have gratitude for Brett and Dara for their technical expertise in the booth this morning, bringing this broadcast to you. So thanks to everyone who makes this possible. We are continuing our time of exploring the wisdom of trees. We have just a few weeks left in our series. And this morning we are focusing on the theme of lending shelter, something trees are excellent at and something they teach us strongly. I want to read a quote to you from the elder Black Elk. "The sacred hoop of my people was one of the many hoops that made one circle, wide as daylight and as starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowering tree to shelter all the children of the one mother and the one father." As we explore the wisdom of trees this morning and learn what it is to lend shelter, may we gather in this time of music again to bring us to this time, to allow us to focus our energy and ourselves into this moment with each other. light a candle together. If you have one, I invite you to light it. This candle, over the past few months, has connected us in a way that's been unexpected. When we all participate in a ritual, and so I invite you to light your candle now, to let it represent the light of our community together, the light of what connects us. Today, to talk about how easy something is and how difficult something is. It is really easy to think about ourselves. That make me happy. It's fun to think about all the ways. It's fun to make birthday and Christmas lists of all the things I want. Those are easy things. Peach that is really so juicy and so ripe and delicious right now that I want to eat this all to myself, and there are 12 of them at our house, and I want to eat all of them. I could probably do it in one day, too. But then no one else in my house would be, they might even be angry. I don't think I like that. And so I don't want the people in my house to be angry, so I think about them when I don't eat 12 peaches. I choose not to. All have the same amount of time in a day, but I might have more free time than you do, or you might have more time to spend doing fun things than I do. And I choose to just kind of sit around jobs that they have to do and I just don't think about them at all doing all that, then it feels like and how I might spend my free time. So time is also something that we have to spend, not just on ourselves, but on other people too. We have a story this morning that Janice is going to read in one moment, and it's a story that talks about these decisions we make to not just think about ourselves, but to think about others, and to make decisions so that something might work for all of us.
This morning's story is called The Tree, a fable by Neil Layton. A tree. A bird's nest. A squirrel's nest, an owl's hollow. A rabbit's burrow. The new arrivals. The wonderful plan. The hard work. Back to work. Painting. A better rabbit's burrow, a cozier owl's hollow. A sturdier squirrel's nest, a patched up bird's nest, and use my eyes, let me see.
Use my feet, guide my way. Let me help someone today. For the world we pray. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor to the world. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor to the world. A neighbor to the world. Use my voice, let me say, show me now just how to pray. Use my hands to show I care. Open arms, I love to share. For the world we pray. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor to the world. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor. Let me be a neighbor to the I will be a neighbor. I will be a neighbor. I will be a neighbor to the world. I will be a neighbor. I will be a neighbor. I will be a neighbor to the world. I will be a neighbor to the world.
I'm reading this morning from Luke 13, verses 10 to 17. Jesus was teaching in one of the meeting places on the Sabbath. There was a woman present, so twisted and bent over with arthritis that she couldn't even look up. She had been afflicted with this for 18 years. When Jesus saw her, he called her over. "Woman, you're free." He laid hands on her, and suddenly she was standing straight and tall, offering thanks and praise. The meeting place president, furious because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, said to the congregation, 6 days have been defined as work days. Come on one of the 6 if you want to be healed, but not on the seventh, the Sabbath. But Jesus shot back, "You frauds! Each Sabbath, every one of you regularly does duties that show compassion. You untie your cow or donkey from its stall, lead it out for water, and think nothing of it. So why isn't it all right for me to untie this daughter of Abraham and lead her from where she has been bound these 18 years? When he put it that way, his critics were left looking silly and red-faced. The congregation was delighted and cheered him on. This is a story passed down from the first century Jesus tradition. May we find wisdom for our living.
Being a neighbor is a classic and well-worn theme of our tradition. One of Jesus' greatest commandments is to love our neighbor as ourselves. We recognize then that learning to love ourselves has to be a priority if we're going to make that a reality in our lives. Valuing ourselves, seeing ourselves as loved and lovable, accepting ourselves, our gifts, our skills, but also our quirks and our flaws, that has to be a lifelong endeavor. And so the wisdom goes, if we can try to do it for ourselves, then we can try equally to do that for others, learning to see each other as a mix of sinner and saint, beauty and ugliness, success and failure, and respecting and honoring the humanity of another. This is loving our neighbor. It doesn't mean blanket acceptance of anything and everything. It means caring enough to learn about each other, to speak the truth to each other, to fight for each other's human rights, even when it may take us out of our comfort zone, out of our privilege, out of the safety of the nice cocoon that we may build for ourselves. This is loving our neighbor. Trees teach us this wisdom in rather selfless ways. They offer their shelter to whoever comes their way. Birds that need a branch to build their nests, a squirrel who might find a crook or a hole to make their home, spiders in need of a tree's branches as foundation for their webs, children climbing and their parents making a treehouse, or offering a strong limb for a tire swing. This offering of shelter, this idea of being sensitive to the community of neighbors around us, is a lesson of the trees. You know, on my desk, for approximately 16 weeks, I have had the book The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, wondering, will there be a time to read this book in this tree series? And the more it sat there, and the more I kept opening it, the more I realized, sorry, Shel, I don't like this book. I've never liked its core message. Provide for others, give of yourselves, even at the expense of your own well-being. There are many in professions working right now, health professions, helping professions, people working with people on the street, people working with racialized minority people, that are living out the dangers of a life of selfless giving without balance, living out the life of the giving tree at their own detriment. That tree in that story keeps giving until it allows its own destruction. Where, I ask, is the balance in love for self and love for others in that? No, I prefer the wisdom that's shared in the modern fable by Neil Layton that we read this morning. When it comes to respect for neighbors, giving shelter and living together in a mutual relationship, we're required to create win-win solutions. We're required to look around us at the impacts of our decisions. We're asked to be mindful that our living has direct effect on the living of others, other people, other creatures. In this really simple story, Neil Layton has given us a fable that tells of a couple that realizes that building their home will mean the destruction of others' homes. And that doesn't fit with their values. That doesn't fit with the way they want to live their life. So they alter their plans, perhaps at great expense, perhaps at their inconvenience, perhaps taking a load of time. But in the end, in their new home, the last page says they find happiness, not only because they've accommodated so that their neighbors aren't harmed, but if we look closely, we recognize that they find happiness because also they've made a decision that makes their neighbors even stronger. What a beautiful global lesson this is for us on so many levels. There's another story, another teaching that Jesus offers, and it goes like this. Here is a simple rule of thumb for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them. If you only love the lovable, do you expect a pat on the back? If you only help those who help you, do you expect a medal? If you only give for what you hope to get out of it, do you think that's charity? I tell you, love not just your friends, but also strangers and opponents. Help and give without expecting a return. Like most teachings, it comes right down to love and compassion, doesn't it? Making space and sheltering another. The teacher Jesus uses an example from his own experience. He's in the congregation on a Sabbath. The rules say the Sabbath is a day of rest, and he happens to notice a woman in great discomfort and long-suffering pain, and he makes it better for her. And the synagogue leader says, no, not today you don't. Come one of the other 6 days for that, but today's a day of rest. And to that, the teacher replies back, you frauds. On the Sabbath, you all have compassion even on your animals, untying them, offering them exercise, water, food, and you have a problem giving that same compassion to a fellow human being? To free her from what binds her? These stories, they all work together to talk about compassion, to talk about the treatment of our neighbors, to talk about ourselves. Not just our actions, but what's going on in our hearts and minds to start with. We do have to leave the shelter of our own constructions, our too firmly held convictions and beliefs. We do have to leave behind our rigid and unbending family rules or our concocted understandings of how the world should work. We have to leave those to encounter real life, and we have to leave them in order to provide shelter and compassion and understanding to someone that isn't us, especially to those that are the most vulnerable. So if this pandemic has taught us anything, it's that we can see ourselves as one species. One species with a common problem. It doesn't just attack one or one group, one country. It doesn't attack based on what we look like, our ability to pay, We are one humanity dealing with one big problem. And the pandemic has taught us that we can do this, that we are only as strong as our weakest members. The pandemic has taught us that we can shelter ourselves and each other, knowing there's value in prioritizing a global issue and working together to solve it. That should give us hope. That as we're doing that with this issue, we know that we can do it with others. I don't know who's living in the trees of your life right now. What animals, what creatures, what symbiotic organisms are in the trees, bushes, and burrows of your world? Are there bees? Butterflies? Hopefully not bears. Are there birds? Find out with me and learn how you can be the best neighbor you can be to them. How can we strengthen the shelter that they find in the places near us? I also don't know who is the most vulnerable in and around your life experience at the moment. Find out with me and learn what we can do to reach beyond ourselves and to offer what we can. Shelter comes in many forms. Is it an online donation? Is it the strength of your listening ear? Is it needing to refill your car with a few restaurant or grocery gift cards for those moments that arise? You know the ones I'm talking about. Is it the amplification of voices that need to be heard by us writing a letter, a post, a retweet? Is it an action that needs all of us for it to be accomplished? And who will we share that spark of an idea with? Let's strengthen the spirit of our world by making decisions that include. Making decisions that may have to alter our plans if we have to. By recognizing that we all can be the tree that shelters, the builder that respects, the neighbor that lives by compassion's ways. We live this wisdom of the trees. The one who gives of its branches, of its leaves, of its bark, and of its hollows. And in whatever ways we're able, may we make that so for us in so many ways.
The
Even though we're not in person, we continue to have needs as a community, but also commitments that we are attempting to be the best neighbor that we can as we continue our commitments with others in the city of Edmonton and Saskatoon, with others across the world through our United Church of Canada. And so we invite you to give in whatever ways that you can to help us be the neighbors that we want to be. You can donate online on our website. That is the easiest way. But of course, if you'd like to stop by our office, we are open on Thursdays from 10 to 1. You can of course drop off cash, check, or however you'd like to donate at that time. Thank you to all those of you who have continued to donate through this time. We have been very grateful for your support, and it doesn't go unnoticed, and many, many thanks. As we go into the rest of our day and the rest of our week, strengthened by each other and inspired by the trees and the wisdom they share with us, I invite us into a reflective reading of a poem by Greta Vosper entitled Perhaps. As I read this, you are welcome to read along, to read out loud or silently, or in fact to close your eyes and let these words enter your consciousness. Words by Greta Vosper from her collection of poetry entitled Take a Deep Breath, A Poetic Pursuit of Justice. This one entitled Perhaps. Perhaps we will get to a place where all love is recognized as beautiful and worthy, lived with reverence that pulls the best out of the lover and casts a path of delight before the loved. Ready for the cost of engagement in a struggle some think isn't even yours? For speaking when the voices of the dispossessed are silenced by the power of fear? For the clash and violence that burn over a line drawn by hatred that can only be erased by the human hands that drew it? Incidentally, it might be helpful to note that the struggle is ours, not theirs. For our lives are bound up with one another's, and the pain and suffering that sears the heart of any single being, if it does not touch our own, then who are we? What are we? Dignity. Dignity is the price of admittance. Like a ticket, it gains you entrance to the kaleidoscope that is the human family. It stretches your heart, expands your breath, allows you to find beauty in every gaze. It does this when you gift it, not when you demand it. Embrace. Embrace love. Set your feet upon love's fragile path and turn yourself toward grace, toward permission, toward forgiveness, toward whatever strength you need to wrap your arms around the unknown heart and feel its love wrapping yours. And so from this time together and into whatever we must do in the coming hours and days, we invite the wisdom of the trees to go with us, to say that a decision for us is not a good one. A decision for me is not enough. A decision for all of us is what is required. Let's lend a branch, a leaf, a root. Let's lend some time, a peach, and a listening ear. As we go into this day and into this week, may the light change as we need it to, and may we go in peace and strength and encouragement. Until next time, be well.